Okay. Is there an echo from the speaker, anyone? Is it okay?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Can we see Carol okay? Yes, we can. Okay.
I had to take my mask off because my glasses fog up and I have to be able to see.
No problem.
Anyway, good morning, everyone. Helen Boykens was a person of interest in my life that I did not know who she was before I met her. And since then, she comes to mind because I used several of the things that she introduced to me. But in the handout, I commented that I met her as at a student recital in Montgomery, Alabama in 1975. And one of her students played Aaron Copland's Cat and Mouse. And I said, I want to know how to teach that piece because I had been given a piece of music years before. And I took one look at it and I had no clue how to start because it was modern music that as a teenager I had never done. So anyway, I contacted her, and through that contact, I commenced a 19-month study with her, and I took a weekly hour lesson, and then it went to 2-hour lessons, 2 separate lessons in a week, and that was primarily due to the fact that I had a cooperation with my husband, and my husband was in Budapest, Thailand, so I had time on my hands, even though I had 3 kids. Anyway, she agreed to help organize my thoughts and learn about repertoire for the advancing students. And she, in truth, I was really asking her to give me a confirmation that I was doing the right thing by teaching students. I'm going on track. Anyway, but my husband and I arrived in Montgomery, Alabama, in the summer of 1975 with 3 children in tow, and they were small. And he was there for Air Force Command and Staff School. So that was supposed to be a 9-month tour. And I all of a sudden had people knocking on my door asking, because they found out I was a piano teacher. And ironically enough, I ended up with 28 piano students, of which probably half were civilian students and half were military students. You have to understand the military child was usually told, oh, I can't take you because you're not here long enough. So my mantra for whether they were military or not is that I will take you as far as we can go on our journey together doing this thing. And when I leave you, you go to somebody else, but you'll have a basis of what is being given to you. But then all of a sudden my husband was going to Budapest, and you suddenly as a military family, you either have to go home to your parents or you have to have a house someplace. Well, we fortunately enough were renting a house in Montgomery, even though the school system wasn't that good. Our kids liked the school, they had friends. So I chose to stay there with the 3 kids while Bill was in college. That year-long deployment on a company ended up only being 9 months, which was to our satisfaction. But anyway, Helen in this time filled a void for me. And so I commenced to do an hour lesson on repertoire and an hour lesson on theory. She was a taskmaster. This woman, looking back on it, I thought she was older than she was, but when I go back to finding dates, she wasn't that old. But she believed in teaching people to think on their feet. She did not take anyone who did not want to study classical music. If you wanted to do a popular piece, forget it, goodbye. Or you didn't tell her about it. Anyway, but she had a full farm of students. And Jack Butler, the composer of pieces that were a while back, he was one of her students. That's not in here, but I remember that afterward. We were expected to attend her adult class. That was once a month, and thereby she might walk around and she might say, spell me a G flat 7th chord in inversion. And I'm looking at her like a doe in the deer headlights, because up to that time, nobody had ever asked me that question, but we filled a lot of holes. Her biggest approach with me is I studied everything in 3s. So I was either working on 12 or 15 things, because it would be 3 Chopin, 3 Bach, 3 Beethoven, 3 Mozart, and everything was done in threes. And because I was a sight reader, she said, good, we're not gonna, you don't have to memorize these. We're just doing this to build your repertoire and enforce the fact that you are doing what you're doing. And so over the course of time, I picked up a lot of literature. I bought music at Mary's House of Music in Montgomery because I didn't have the proper book. Anyway, she introduced her background, and it's a very interesting one, is that I had one piece of her music called the Geechee Dance, on which the front of which I had written a whole bunch of notes about her. And thank heavens I did, because when I went to look for more information about her, there wasn't any. So my front cover of my Geechee Dance has some of the pertinent information that seems to be lost in the facts. But she graduated with honors from the State Women's College of Alabama, which is now the University of Montevallo, and she taught there for 3 years after graduation. Her mother took her to Germany from 1930 to 1935, and she told me, she said, my mother had us exit really fast, because one day I was in the courtyard and there was this little man with a mustache, and he was ranting about things. Well, guess who that was? It was Hitler. And her mother said, we're going back to the United States, dear, and they left. Now, how old she was at that point, she was nebulous about age. She never really told you what her age was. I figured she was 15 or 16, but she must have been a student who accelerated and did a lot of these things early on. But from when she studied in Munich with Helen Schwarzler and Wolfgang Ruff, who were professors at the conservatory there. She settled in Atlanta, Georgia upon her return from there, and she taught there for a lot of summers. She was in Yale from 52 and 53, studying under Bruce Simon. She moved to Montgomery, Alabama, where she was teaching in 1975 when I met her. And she had a full load of students. I always considered myself as being a lucky one for having met her and was invited to be one of her students. When we moved in 1975 in the summer, I communicated with her but lost touch with her over the years. I did find out that she was a member of the Who's Who of Women in Alabama, and she was also Who's Who in the American Women book. She was a very private person. She never married. I found this out later, but she had a fiance who died of disease in 1940, not from the war, which she would have sued at that. She was really known as an elegant Southern lady. She was the epitome of being socially graceful and very well spoken. She went on to live with her sister in an